They swore the fade was gone. After the ban, after the news anchors practiced their sad voices, after the warnings that rolled like storm sirens across every app. But the internet never buries anything. It just reroutes. Tonight the town breathes like a held note, streets humming with Halloween lights despite it being weeks away. And a DM slides into Maya's phone. A private link, a resurrected sound. The same shiver in the bass that none of them will admit they've missed. Don't play it, Rowan said, months ago, after the headlines, after the memorial candles. But silence is heavy, and the feed is light, and one click promises 50,000 hearts in an hour. In the cracked reflection of Maya's screen, she sees her own eyes, hungry and ashamed. She texts Theo, John, Lila. It typing somewhere distant. The ocean drags its moonlit fingernails along the shore, counting down a clock none of them can see. By morning, the private link is everywhere and nowhere. Mirrors of mirrors, zipped through throwaway accounts, captioned with code words like inside jokes. Maya watches clips in class with the sound off. Hands out of frame, a room gone dim at once, a shaky giggle cutting to static. The comments talk about angel seconds, about floating, about waking up with the taste of coins and sunlight. She knows they're lying. She also knows that lying can trend. Theo keeps dropping memes in the group chat like breadcrumbs. Funny, relentless, a dare disguised as irony. June sends a calendar invite for a study session, which everyone understands. Lila pastes a news link about the ban, then deletes it. The principal's morning announcement mentions digital citizenship and responsible choices. A classmate draws a halo in white pen on the back of Maya's notebook and writes fade in bubble letters. She closes the cover, feeling the ink press into cardboard like a bruise. The band changed platforms, not people. After school, they gather in the library's quiet corner, the only place where the air still smells like paper. Maya sets her phone face down and listens to the soft purr of the building. She imagines old books whispering warnings. Theo calls the whole thing fear theater. If it's banned, it must be powerful. June tries to set rules. No names, no faces, no identifiable anything. Lila says if they do it, they don't post. But her voice rises at the end like a question. Maya thinks of the memorial candles, of the way the algorithm learned the smell of grief and sold it as content. The link sits in her pocket like a stone. She says they'll meet at the seawall after dark, just to look. Everyone agrees more quickly than they should. The library clock ticks. Somewhere a printer coughs. When Maya finally flips her phone over, the lock screen blooms with a dozen new followers. At home, Rowan makes pasta and tries not to hover. They ask about Maya's day in that casual tone older siblings practice, and Maya answers in safe fragments. Rowan mentions the ban like a weather report. It's still trending for the wrong reasons, and places a steaming bowl in front of her. Hunger wakes up the truth pressed under her tongue. She says someone sent the link back. Rowan stops moving, spoon suspended above the pot, and their face is a flare of fear, quickly shuttered behind calm. They remind her of names she knows, of parents who stopped answering the door to reporters. Maya stares at her bowl until the steam becomes fog, until she sees herself as a ghost in the window. She says she won't do it. Rowan nods, like a promise was made. Between them, the kitchen hums with the soft insistence of the fridge, a steady, domestic heartbeat, arguing with the roar of the feed. Night again. The seawall returns like a ritual. The ocean breathes colder, and the streetlights feel farther apart. Theo shows up first, riding hard like he can outpace his nerves. June follows with a backpack that clinks with thermos and batteries. He says it's just in case. Lila almost doesn't come. Her DM is a crowd of warnings, and someone's older cousin's horror story that reads like a riddle. Maya arrives last, and it feels like the world leans a little. She says, "We just look, we don't touch." Everyone agrees again, and their own voices sound practiced, like a chorus that never believed its lyrics. A shadow moves at the corner store window and then is gone. The memorial flowers have been replaced, fresh and white. Maya takes out her phone. The link waits, a patient mouth. The tide sucks at the rocks and returns. Fog braids itself through the railing as if the night is learning to breathe again. The link plays on Maya's screen without sound, a tiny loop of darkness devouring a room, then spitting it back brighter. She tells them it is just research, a rehearsal with the world on mute, but the promise inside the pixels keeps leaning closer. Theo jokes to keep the quiet from hardening, his voice flat at the edges when he tires. June keeps naming the risks like prayer beads. Lila asks what they would even be chasing, and Maya says the word feeling, the way a diver says surface. Her thumbs hover over the brightness slider, then back away. The ocean answers with a slap against stone. A gull cries, then another. They agree to set a boundary, to touch nothing except the idea. The agreement feels thinner than wind. Somewhere down the block a siren yelps once and stops, as if even the emergency hesitates. They choose the old bandstand above the beach, a circle of cracked concrete and flaking paint that once held summer concerts. It feels hidden and open at the same time, which is how danger likes its stage. June lays out rules he pretends to read off the page, though the paper is blank. Theo spins in slow circles and counts heartbeats, as if rhythm can cage the urge. Lila kneels to tie and retie her sneaker, chasing a knot she can understand. Maya stands in the center and imagines a live feed that never leaves the phone. Eyes only. A secret audience of 4. She asks them to promise again that they stop if anyone says stop. The promise lands between them like a glass ornament that might shatter if anyone breathes too hard. In the distance, waves drum the dark, and a fairy horn bleeds through the fog. Thin and human and far away. First contact is almost nothing. A pause that tastes like metal and rain. A shared silence that tilts all their blood. Jun watches the second hand on his watch stagger, then catch up. Lila blinks and says she felt the room inhale, then laughs at herself and looks away. Theo whispers that he heard the color of the lamp, a sentence that should not make sense but does right now. Maya holds the moment with both hands, eyes open, refusing to surrender to the rumor of bliss that hooked her. The world resumes with a shiver in the wires overhead and a faint pop in her ears. No one fell. No one floated. Still. They look at each other as if something leaned close and grazed their faces. The bandstand feels smaller, like the night took one step in. Maya says enough and means it, and yet the word echoes around them, hungry for a second reply. Back home, the night grows teeth. Notifications multiply like fruit flies, tiny wings buzzing in Maya's pocket, even though she posted nothing. Someone tagged a throwback clip of last year's memorial and wrote a caption that felt like a dare. Theo sends a voice note that pretends to be comedy and lands as confession. June drafts a long message about stopping and does not send it. Lila scrolls through a chain of coded posts, hearts the ones that ask if Angel seconds feel warm or cold, then hates herself for it. Maya lies awake and watches the ceiling soften into gray. Hears Rowan's door open and close, the kettle fill, the quiet courage of a cup placed outside her room. She does not cry. She counts breaths, until the number loses meaning. By morning, the mirror shows a girl who could pass for fine. The feed knows better and keeps whispering, "Come back." Morning finds them thinner at the edges. In class, Ms. Patel assigns a media literacy exercise that reads like an apology for the internet. then watches the room the way a lifeguard watches rough water. Maya answers questions with perfect sentences and feels hollowed, like she copied herself from a safer day. Theo doodles waves in the margin, each crest sharper than the last. Yoon's camera sits on the desk, lens capped, an eye refusing to open. Lila types a message about stopping and deletes it letter by letter. When the bell rings, Ms. Patel asks Maya to stay. The teacher does not say the fate. She says grief markets itself very well. She says she can drive Maya home after practice. Maya thanks her and declines. Outside, the sky has the color of a healing bruise. The group reconvenes at the lockers and nobody mentions last night, which is how agreements fracture. Rumor turns into choreography. They start speaking in code, swapping the word. Homework for times, and library for locations, laughing too loudly in hallways so no one hears what's missing. Theo says the first rule of staying safe is staying invisible, and the second rule is not writing down rules. June builds a folder of nothing, empty files named like Alibis, pretending that control lives in good labels. Lila drafts a group note that says this is the last time, then turns the screen off because good intentions look like exit signs and she's not ready to leave. Maya feels the orbit tightening, a sling drawn back. She doesn't believe in angel seconds. She believes in the silence that follows a risk, the way the world holds its breath just for you. The memorial at the corner keeps blooming, white petals replaced by hands she doesn't know. She dreams of the ocean at noon, harmless and loud, and wakes wanting to run toward the very edge. Theo wants a bolder stage. Small rooms make small stories, he says, then softens it into a joke because he knows how it sounds. June counters with logistics, with the mathematics of risk and the way a lens can turn truth into accident. Lila tries to be the brake, and hears her voice come out thin. A bird, tapping at glass. Maya is split. A part of her still lives in the memorial's shadow. Another part keeps measuring the distance between her and the person she could be if she stopped chasing proof. They trade half-promises like contraband. No faces, no names, no lives. And then everyone looks away because even a half-promise can break. In the faculty lot, Miss D. Patel lingers in her car and watches them not together, then apart, then together again, worry rising like sea fog. She types a message to a colleague and deletes it. She opens the school directory to Rowan's number and closes it. They choose a place the town forgot, where the walls hold other people's secrets, and the roof complains when the wind changes. No instructions, just proximity, just the thrum of fear tuned up a notch. June counts quietly, not to time anything but to hear a steady human sound. Lila squeezes her eyes shut and opens them fast to prove she's still here. Theo laughs too loud, and it echoes back wrong, like someone else replied. Maya feels the room flex, imagined or not, and it's enough to tilt them toward belief. Something metallic pops, and they all startle in the same direction, hearts skidding. They back away at once. 4 magnets flip to repel. Outside, the air tastes forgiving. They invent a story about a raccoon and decide to keep it. It becomes a layer between them and the truth, a thin blanket for a cold they invited in. The secret settles like dust, visible only when light hits it right. Rowan waits on the couch with a blanket and a question that won't soften. When Maya comes in, the door carries the sea's cold into the room, and Rowan's voice follows it, careful and firm. They don't say the name of the trend. They say the names of kids who didn't get a second draft. Maya's denial arrives too quickly, a reflex dressed as certainty. It sits between them, obvious as a bruise. Rowan's hands open and close on the blanket's edge like they're practicing letting go. If you want proof you matter, they say, try staying. The sentence lands and shivers. Maya promises nothing and everything. A nod that could mean yes or don't worry, or stop asking. In another apartment, Ms. Patel leaves a voicemail for Rowan that is mostly silence wrapped around the words, "I'm here." The feed spills gold light across Maya's wall and throws a shadow that looks like a fork in a road. The pact hardens in the space where fear meets want. They meet under the bleachers after last bell, each arriving alone to look like coincidence. They don't talk about locations anymore. They talk about soundtracks and timing and nothing that matters until it does. June's eyes keep finding exits. Lila's fingers tremble until she laces them together. Theo spins possibilities like tops and watches them wobble toward disaster with wonder. Maya listens to the hush that gathers in the pauses and decides the story won't own her. She will own the ending, she tells herself, as if endings answer to will. Ms. Patel walks the track with a stack of papers and pretends not to notice, then catches the shine of the memorial ribbon knotted to the fence and feels the day tip. Rowan texts once, "Home by 10." Maya types a heart and doesn't send it. The fog returns as if called, and the field lights thrum awake, counting down to a night that will not forget them. The town wears midnight like a secret badge. Wind combs the seawall, and the bandstand waits with its peeled paint and echoing ribs. One by one the phones wake, front cameras catching breath, ghosts and jittery eyes. A dozen tiny red dots bloom across the dark as strangers slip into a stream that should not exist. Theo narrates under his breath the way he does when he's scared, turning fear into banter. Lila keeps saying she's fine, and sounds like a distant station. June's lips move as if counting kindnesses. Maya feels the night lean in asses. If to listen. Comments spill. Angel emojis, skulls, please stitch to jokes. A glitch skitters the screen and returns them in the same positions, only more fragile, like a photocopy of themselves. Maya hears Rowan's voice from earlier if you want proof. Try staying, threaded through the roar. The memorial lilies, fresh at dusk, have tipped in the wind. Every petal points toward the water like a warning. The stream multiplies, mirrored into other rooms by hands they will never know. Someone adds a remix. Someone else pins a dare. The chat heat climbs until the air feels thin. Ms. Patel, at home grading by lamplight, scrolls past a mosaic of anonymous circles and catches a glimpse that looks like their town, like their ocean, like 4 silhouettes she can name in her sleep. Her heart lurches as if a step were missing in a staircase. Rowan's phone vibrates on the kitchen counter with a message that reads, "Check this," and a link wearing a mask of random letters. At the bandstand, Theo throws his arms out to the comments like a street performer who's forgetful about traffic. Lila says stop without sound. Jun shakes his head and can't make it stick. Maya watches the numbers climb and thinks about how every view is a person with a pulse. And yet, the count feels like weather. Impersonal, unstoppable, cold. A sudden squall slaps the shore, quick and mean. Phones slip in clammy hands. A chorus of ohays rises from the chat like laughter falling downstairs. The light stutters. For a breath, the stream clips to black, and in that pocket of nothing, Maya hears the ocean alone. Wold, unamused, huge. When the picture comes back, everything is the same except their faces, which now look like dawn after a sleepless night. Jun steps forward and says enough with the steadiness of a bridge. Lila mirrors him, both hands up. Theo's grin falters. A boy remembering gravity. Maya nods, ready to end it, to pivot, to turn their watching into a warning. Then a new notification pierces the bottom of her screen. A private viewer count that has just doubled, followed by a message from a verified account thirsty for an exclusive. It is astonishing how fast a moral line can blur when spotlight heat warms a cold night. Footsteps. Not the ocean. Real near. A cluster of kids from another grade, faces half hidden by hoods, by hunger, spill from the fog with their own phones aloft like votive candles. The stream fractures into angles and echoes. The night becomes a house of mirrors with no exit signs. Someone starts a chant too soft to be a threat and too sharp to ignore. Ms. Patel's car turns onto the promenade, headlights cutting a clear wound through the gray. Rowan runs. In the micro-theater of 1,000 screens, commenters crown Theo brave and call John a coward, and Lila dramatic, and Maya a queen and a liar in the same breath. The algorithm loves friction. The chat sparks like flint. Maya's throat tightens. She thinks of the memorial lilies, the names heavy as anchors, and says out loud, for them and for the phone, we're done. The wind steals the sentence, but Jun hears and Lila hears and Theo hears too, and something inside him hears too, and something inside him fights it. Nay, and sure, shall ein da. Then the thing that never should happens. Not a trick, not a stunt, just the oldest failure, the slip between heartbeat and plan. Time stretches thin as sugar pulled to glass. A cry rips the crowd's chatter into silence. Comments freeze, then flood, then turn into prayers, and cruel jokes and coordinates no one needs. Phones catch 100 angles of one terrible moment and make it infinite. Maya drops to her knees without realizing. June moves first with the competence of panic. Lila's hands hover uselessly before finding a grip that matters. Theo is very still, and then not still at all. All the swagger leaking out of him onto the cold concrete. Ms. Paddle's car door slams. Rowan's feet hit the steps 2 at a time. Sirens don't sing so much as argue with the wind. The stream keeps going. Of course it does. The algorithm is a mouth that never closes. Someone types, "End it," and Maya looks straight into the lens and says, "Listen to me." Stop. By morning, the feed has rewritten the night. Clips sliced into loops, filters softening what the lens caught raw. The word tragedy trends, then challenge, then something catchy and hollow that sounds like mercy. Maya wakes in a hospital room that smells like bleach and plastic promises. A curtain divides her from the sound of Rowan arguing with someone over the phone, voice breaking every time they say, "She's just a kid." Theo sits in a chair too small for guilt, hoodie up, face hidden. June hasn't spoken since the sirens faded. Lila hasn't logged on since the flood of condolences that weren't meant for her. Maya's phone blinks from the bedside drawer like a pulse she can't control. When the doctor says rest, she thinks the internet never sleeps. In the quiet, she replays the last seconds again and again until they're unrecognizable, until the only thing left is a sound, the ocean swallowing a name. The video is gone. Taken down, replaced, mirrored, reposted, gone again. The internet's version of grief is motion, never stopping long enough to feel. Maya watches an influencer cry on camera about raising awareness and wonders what they think they're raising. Theo's DMs overflow with strangers calling him hero and villain in the same breath. June gets a message from a news outlet requesting footage. For clarity. Lila's name trends for 12 hours and then vanishes. The algorithm's sympathy measured in half-lives. Ms. Patel stares at an empty classroom and imagines every desk as a story paused mid-sentence. Rowan files a privacy request that the app ignores. Somewhere, servers hum louder, compressing trauma into bite-sized clips for strangers to scroll past. Maya deletes her account. For a heartbeat, she thinks she's free, until the system asks, "Are you sure you want to lose your data?" The school brings grief counselors and cameras. Someone tapes a paper heart to Theo's locker. Another scrawls, "We warned you," across it in marker. Lila can't walk past without shaking. Jun takes the long route to class, head down. Maya stays home and watches live streams of assemblies that talk about her like a ghost who can still scroll. Ms. B. Patel speaks quietly, her voice careful as if words themselves might snap. They were good kids who made a bad decision in a world that rewards it. In the hallway, a younger student films her speech, zooms in on tears, uploads it with a sad soundtrack. It trends for 2 hours. Rowan stands outside the gates with coffee growing cold, trying to decide whether to pull Maya out of town or make her stay and face it. Inside, Theo deletes everything but can't delete himself. Rowan meets with Ms. Patel in a small office that smells like old books and sanitizer. Between them, a phone recording sits face down on the desk like a loaded question. The world saw enough, Rowan says. They saw too much, Ms. B. Patel replies. Both are right. They talk about advocacy, responsibility, blame. Outside the window, the memorial ribbon flutters. Someone has tied new lilies, still wet from rain. Maya listens from the hallway without meaning to. She hears words like settlement, consent, narrative control. It sounds like branding grief, like polishing broken glass. Later, she tells Theo and Jun she's thinking of talking to the reporters herself. But Theo begs her not to. They'll turn you into the story again, Maya says softly. Maybe that's the only way to end it. Silence stretches, long, elastic, almost holy. That night, Maya goes live. Not for fame, for truth. Her voice trembles at first, but steadies when she speaks the words no one dared. The fade was never real. The danger was. She doesn't describe what happened. She describes why. The hunger to be seen. The echo chamber that turns pain into a song. The stream barely cracks 100 viewers, but it spreads anyway, rippling out through duets and stitches and screenshots. Theo joins quietly, typing only one word. Sorry? June adds a candle emoji. Lila sends a private text that says, thank you. Ms. Patel watches from her office, tears unhidden. Rowan sits beside Maya, one arm around her shoulders. No filter, no lighting tricks. The ocean outside hums its endless soundtrack, waves breaking, rebuilding, never the same twice. Somewhere, a teenager scrolling late at night pauses just long enough to think, maybe I want. The silence after Maya's live stream doesn't last. It never does. Within hours, her video is reposted, remixed, turned into edits with captions she didn't write. Some twist her words into apologies, others into accusations. But buried between the noise, something new begins. Duets of people listening, really listening. Their screens dimmed, their faces still. Maya scrolls through them at dawn, tears slipping without sound. Theo wakes to his inbox full of messages that don't attack. Just ask how to stop it. Jun begins to gather old footage, angles that never aired, moments before the night turned, and starts editing not for likes, but for truth. Lila creates a tag. #horror before you post. It catches like a spark on dry leaves. Rowan prints out Maya's statement and tapes it to the memorial wall, where the wind catches the paper's edge and waves it like a flag. The movement grows teeth. Schools start talking about it. Journalists reach out cautiously, testing if the world wants redemption stories now. Maya refuses interviews. She's tired of being a headline. Theo joins June to finish the video. Raw, uncut, no sound design, just moments of fear and silence stitched together. They title it, Nothing Happened. When it drops, it doesn't go viral. it goes real. The comments fill with quiet sentences. I stopped watching. I called my friend. I deleted my post. Ms. Patel screens it in class without announcement, just dimming the lights and pressing play. When the last frame fades, no one claps. They just sit there, heavy, breathing together. For the first time in months, Maya feels the feed slow, as if listening. When the school bell rings, the hallway feels different. Phones stay in pockets. No one knows the rule, but everyone senses it. In the courtyard, a mural begins to bloom. Spray paint, Sharpies, paper notes layered like feathers. Listen before you post. Angel seconds are lies. Stay. Maya runs her fingers across each one, fingertips smudged with color. Theo reads a note from a freshman who says she almost tried it, then saw Maya stream and didn't. June films the murals making, not for content, but for memory. Lila draws a halo cracked down the middle and writes under it, "We're not ghosts yet." Rowan stands behind the crowd, finally breathing easy. For the first time, Miss Patel doesn't look worried. Just proud, tired, and human. The algorithm can't kill what it can't predict. Instead of trending, the message spreads sideways. Small accounts, quiet reposts, teachers emailing links to parents, kids whispering truth into comment sections. Maya stops checking numbers. She goes walking by the seawall again. No cameras, no audience. The air smells like salt and something new. Peace. Theo joins her, rolling his bike beside him instead of racing it. They talk about things that don't need filming. College plans, music, silence. June texts that the film club wants to screen their video. Lila sends a photo of her cracked halo tattoo. Rowan messages one word. Proud. Maya looks at the ocean, and for once, it's just water, not a stage. That night, Maya uploads one final video. 30 seconds of ocean waves, no music, no words. The caption reads, "Remember what silence feels like." She turns off notifications, deletes the app, and lies on her bed with the window open. The moonlight paints her ceiling silver, and the sound of the tide rolls in slow forgiving. Down the street, someone lights candles at the memorial, but they're not mourning. They're remembering. Theo messages the group chat. "You guys up?" Jun replies with a heart. Lila sends a photo of the mural. Rowan types, "Good night, world." Maya smiles and closes her eyes. For the first time, the feed doesn't follow her into her dreams. Months pass, and the world forgets in fragments. The hashtag fades under new ones, attention shifting like tides. But in small corners of the internet, Maya's 30 seconds of ocean waves continue to play, looping quietly, collecting comments that simply say thank you or I needed this today. At school, a new class of students occupies their old desks. The memorial ribbon has gone pale from sunlight, but no one removes it. Maya walks the hallway slower now, smiling when she catches reflections that don't hurt anymore. Theo coaches track. June edits documentaries for the media club. Lila paints murals that get reposted by art accounts without credit, and she doesn't care. Rowan volunteers for digital safety workshops with Ms. Patel. Sometimes, Maya still wakes to phantom notification sounds, but when she looks at her phone, is blank, quiet, alive, hers. Yoon's documentary premieres in the gym, projected on a sheet instead of a screen. The crowd is small, quiet, more present than any algorithm could make them. The video ends on a still frame of the ocean. The same 30 seconds Maya once uploaded, followed by words that read, "Pause before you post." When the lights come up, no one claps right away. Then, Ms. Patel starts softly, and the sound spreads until it feels like forgiveness. Theo looks at Maya, eyes bright but steady. Lila brushes tears away with a painted sleeve. Rowan's smile carries both grief and pride. Later, June tells Maya that the documentary has no credits. Everyone's part of it, he says. That's the point. She nods. For the first time, the story feels like it belongs to everyone, not as a warning, but as a choice. In interviews that come months later, journalists ask Maya what she would say to someone chasing virality. She doesn't use the word danger, or trend, or fear. She says, "Ask who benefits from your risk." Then she adds, "If it's not you, stop." The clip goes viral for a day, ironically, but this time, the loop feels different. People post responses of silence, of empty rooms, of ocean sounds. The movement becomes less about rules and more about pauses. Maya starts volunteering with Rowan and Ms. Patel, helping schools talk about digital empathy. When Theo teases her about being a motivational speaker, she laughs, because the words don't sound like her, but the purpose does. For once, the internet follows for the right reasons. On the anniversary, the town gathers by the seawall, not to mourn, but to remember. Candles line the rail, reflecting in the tide like tiny constellations. There's laughter, quiet music, and the smell of salt and wax. Maya reads a poem she wrote, just 4 lines. The feed forgets, the sea forgives, the heart repeats, the world still lives, the crowd is silent for a breath. Then someone starts humming softly, and others join. Theo lights the last candle. June records only 5 seconds. Lila sketches waves on the pavement. Rowan leans against the rail with Miss Patel, watching the kids they nearly lost bloom again under streetlight halos. In that glow, grief isn't gone. It's transformed. That night, Maya dreams of the ocean again. But this time, it doesn't take. It carries. The waves move slow and luminous, like breathing made visible. Voices whisper beneath the surface. Friends, strangers, the thousands who almost followed but didn't. She reaches toward the horizon, not for fame or proof, but for peace. When she wakes, the world is still dark, but kind. She sits up, opens her window, and listens to the wind weave through the trees. No alarms, no notifications, no ghosts. Just life, steady and unfiltered. She whispers into the quiet, "Remember what silence feels like." And somewhere, unseen, another teenager puts their phone down and listens too.